Cruiser Ninko?
Ninka.
July 20th, San Diego Comic-Con, you're going to see the inner Geekdom champion Rachel the Crusher Cushing. She will put that title on the line, and it will be against, that's right, the Smasher, Kevin Smets or Mike Kalinowski, who will win.
We're 2 matches away from a championship belt. I'll make sure Kalinowski lives up to his name KO when I knock him out.
You got this new breed that's come on up here, and they're bringing their A game. But they're just beginning, and Kalinowski's going to be the one taking on Rachel in San Diego.
You're a bump in the road in my title.
Comic-Con, that's the next defense is going to be. That's where I'm going to be on the other side of that table getting that belt back.
If he wants to lose for a 4th time to me, bring it.
July 20th, Saturday. You can get tickets right now at theschmoedownlive.com.
Yeah, so we should be ready to go in like 2 minutes. Bada bing, bada boom.
Oh, man with a plan. Brad is frozen. You should. Oh, now he's back.
I wasn't frozen. I just wasn't moving.
You should. Your face was like they're like that.
See, I got you again. Fooled you.
Oh, I wasn't looking. Wow, that's
That's actually really good.
that's actually really horrible. No, Chris.
Pluto. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frankie Stan Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Brad Gilmore.
What's up, movie trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official show for the movie trivia Schmoedown. My name is Brad Gilmore, but you might know me by another name. You might know me as The Boat. Hashtag best of all time. Hashtag Brad's opinions are true. Hashtag boat like. Hashtag run a boat. Hashtag my girlfriend because we dream boat. Hashtag I call her the float because she floats my boat. And joining me in Chicago, Illinois, the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Janisch. Frank, how are you?
All I know is I want my chips with the dip. Bring the dips. Want my chip with the dip.
What do you mean? You see it?
You see it?
You see it. You don't even have to ask. You can see it for yourself.
Poetic.
I want my
It's
chips with
poetic.
Dip. Now, has anyone figured out what the dip is?
I think
That's what I wanna
people
know.
have figured out what the dip is. I don't know if they figured out, but it sounds good to me. It's that it's a party, you know? It's a party. The dip is the party. I want my chips
the
with
dip.
the dip. Because, like, the party doesn't stop till someone brings a dip. I want my chips with a dip.
So, what a classic moment. You know what I mean? I actually think that even though Drake isn't in the NBA, that's one of the most classic NBA moments of all time. Like one of the best NBA interviews ever.
Yeah. I think someone asked, someone literally asked him, what does that even mean? He's like, you know what it means? Look up there.
You know what it means?
Like,
look at
no, we don't. What?
It was so great. I think it's up there. I think it's in my top 5 favorite NBA moments or interviews. It's up there with Allen Iverson's practice.
Yeah.
We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. So it's up there. Anyway, guys, welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown. This isn't the NBA Rundown. I'm Brad Gilmore again. I'm the boat. I'm joined by Frank Janisch. We have a lot to talk about. We have 3 matches, and we have to preview a live pay-per-view event, the Schmoedown Collision, which has a lot of fire matches. And we're going to try to break them all down for you before you watch that show going on Saturday. Go to the triviasd.com for details on how you can get the stream. And if you're a patron at the $10 level, you already get that stream.
10 or higher.
You might want to upgrade it now. 10 or higher. So you might want to upgrade it right now. We're going to talk about the collision in its entirety, make predictions. And Frank, I think we should have some sort of prediction championship.
Really?
Right? Whoever gets closer.
Okay.
Whoever gets the more matches right will win something.
Okay.
What should we win? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll figure it out. Well, you know what? I know.
Oh.
Whoever wins gets the chips with the dip.
Oh,
That's what
I love dip.
We get the chips.
I love
with
dip.
the dip.
And the I don't even. All right.
It could be a salsa. It could be a salsa verde. It could even be a ranch dip. It could be a 7-layer
spicy
dip.
guacamole. Ooh.
Yeah, it could be a guac, brother.
Chips
it could
and
be all.
guac.
So we're gonna talk about the chips.
Chips with the dip.
We're gonna talk about them, but okay, let's start with the 3 matches. We had 3 matches this week. We had the Inner Geekdom match, the Fatal 4.
One of them wasn't really a match, but we'll get to there.
Yeah, we had 3. Yeah, okay. We had the Fatal 4-Way Inner Geekdom match. We had the Battle of the Managers, Robert Meyer Burnett versus Tom Dagnino, which was a defensive battle. And then you had the main event, JT versus Liz Shannon Miller. So we're going to talk about those first. Let's go to the Inner Geekdom match. You had Chance Ellison, fresh off of his loss to Paul Oyama. You had Keaton Markey. You had Brandon Hanna. And then you had Chandru.
Dandapani.
Whose name? What's the last
Chandru
name?
Dandapani.
Dandapani?
Dandapani, yeah.
I just didn't want to say it wrong, so I was going to let you say it, so you look like the fool if you got it wrong. I'm going to call him Chandru, though, because it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
I noticed Mark Ellis did the same thing. We had this match, so a lot of newcomers, so the winner was going to be officially entered into the Inner Geekdom, so it was almost a qualifier for the league. And I got to tell you, I was a little bit surprised that Chance Ellison was even in this match.
You know what? Well, I think I'm also kind of surprised that they called it a qualifier because you win this and you're in Inner Geekdom League. You had Keaton Markey in this match, who has already played a couple of matches, a few matches. She actually won one she was in a tournament last year, so I was like, okay, fine, sure. But you're surprised Chance was in this one. Why are you surprised? Emma is out to get Chance. I thought this was clear.
Well, I don't know about. I'm not so much talking about that. I'm talking about you just had a high profile loss in singles to Paul Oyama, and I don't know. I'm like, why are you in the Inner Geekdom?
Players play. That's what they do. That's what he does.
No, Frank Janisch.
That's what he does. And he spouts his mouth off all the time about how much he knows. So it doesn't surprise me that he would take up this sudden opportunity, as it were, from Emma to be in Inner Geekdom. He's been talking about it.
I just still think it was the wrong move. There was nothing really for him to gain here, in my opinion. I mean, you were in contention. There was a lineage here, right? I mean, you might have been the postmaster general in line for the presidency, but at least you were in line for a championship shot. You have a high-profile loss to Paul Oyama, and then you want to backdoor it with a qualifier in the Inner Geekdom? I just don't think that whoever is managing this man over here, whether it be Ken Knapsack, Grace Hancock, whomever it really is, I don't think that they're making the best decisions for him. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like Chance in Inner Geekdom. I feel like he's taking steps backward.
He played pretty well in this match. It came down to the last question. Had he won?
Wait, did he win?
No, but okay. Look, if he won, he'd be like, losses. Well, yeah, it's a bad string of matches.
If he won, I'd be like, I didn't know any of these damn people in this match. You know, it didn't make a difference. You beat a bunch of no-names who haven't done anything yet in the league.
Yeah, but you can't... Look at what Chandru did. Look how Brandon Hanna played.
You beat rookies.
Okay, he's a rookie in Inner Geekdom. He's a rookie in Inner Geekdom. And look, you pointed to the rookies.
He's a player. He's a player. All right? He's been a player. We were just talking about him.
Sure.
He was in line to potentially get a championship opportunity against Dan Murrow.
Okay. How do you think Brandon Hanna and Chandru Dandapani played? How do you think they played? Did they play good?
Phenomenal.
They played good. So Chance lost to really good players, but he also played really well, no? Or no, you don't think he played really well? He played well.
I'm not saying he didn't play well. I'm saying he shouldn't have even been in the match in the first place. Why? Here's the thing. If you're coming off of a high-profile loss, right, this is with anybody. If you're coming off a high-profile loss, don't just jump into another sport that you're not ready for, another division you're not ready for, and risk another loss. Here's the thing: if this was a one-on-one match in Inner Geekdom, it would have been a smarter play for Chance Ellison. But the fact that it was a fatal four-way, you're increasing your opportunity of losing this match and decreasing your possibility of winning. Your odds just went from 50-50 to 25-70.
So no one should play four-way matches, five-way matches. Is that what you're saying? Because they're idiots?
No, that's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're coming off a high-profile loss, you shouldn't set yourself up to lose again. And to me, this was a lose-lose situation for Chance Ellison. To me, he looked no better if he would have won the match. He looks no better to me. And if you lose the match, you just go down another peg. You hurt your stock.
Okay, so how long in your special world are people supposed to wait to play another match? I don't understand.
I'm not saying you wait to play another match. I'm saying if you're going to take on another match, make sure it's a match that you have a great chance of winning and have a great showing.
You don't.
I'm not saying he didn't have a great showing. I'm not, and I feel like I'm beating up on Chance. And I've been riding for Chance Ellison this whole season. The Magic season, I said Chance Ellison was going to win a championship, and that's why I have higher expectations for him. And I wish go back into singles. Don't jump into another league after a loss. You know what I mean? Go back into singles. Get somebody either in the top 10 or near the top 10. Beat them up. Come up in the rankings, and let's get the ball running again. Don't jump to Inner Geekdom where your stable leader, Mike Kalinowski, is trying to get the championship. So now y'all are both gunning for the same title? You know what I mean? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I wouldn't have advised it if he was in my faction.
All right, I think that's ridiculous, but I don't want to get hung up on it because we have a lot to get through. But I think it's ridiculous. I think that's ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous.
I think it is.
It's not ridiculous. The boat says it's not ridiculous.
Okay.
Well, let's bring in Chris. Chris, what do you think? Be the tiebreaker. Smart choice or bad choice for Chance Ellison to jump into Inner Geekdom after a high-profile loss to Paul Oyama?
He's not here.
All right. Appreciate it.
Glad you asked.
So, glad I asked. Moving right along, let's talk about, though, the rest of the players in this match. We've seen Keaton Markey before. We saw him in the tournament last year. We saw, but we have not seen Brendan Hanna, who's been around the Schmoedown for a while, but never really getting to be on the main stage. And then Chandru, who is a fan of the league and now jumping into play, which is really cool to see. Which one of those three stood out to you the most in this match?
I mean, you could say Brandon Hanna because he won, but it's got to be Chandru Dandapani really stood out to me. I mean, this kid brought a different type of flair and energy that we don't normally get in the Schmoedown, especially in Inner Geekdom, at least that I can recollect with this kind of flair and somewhat of this innocence in a way. Because, I mean, he was kind of like, he burned Keaton Markey for a second because Mark Ellis or Knapsack thought that Keaton would be eliminated, but Chandru had to pop in saying, no, she could technically steal some of my points, but I mean, that's not going to happen. So, and she was very just like, oh, that's so very nice of you, but, kind of like smack talking.
It was the nicest backhanded compliment I've ever heard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
but he was,
not even compliment.
He was great. He was great. But the one thing actually that really stood out to me, and I don't know how other people took this, but I assume it was very funny. It was funny to me. In his pre-match interview and post-match interview with Jen Sturger, he mentioned that he's going for that thick belt, Brad. How do you feel about going after thick belts? How do you feel about that?
I'm not one to jump on the thick belt wagon. You know what I mean? And
thick,
by the way, it's not a belt. It's a championship. A belt holds up your pants.
Oh.
A championship is a title that you hold and a personality that you have to assume of being a champion. But I'm in agreement with you, believe it or not, that even though Brandon Hanna won, and I don't want to take a dump on him because he had a great victory and deservedly should be in the Inner Geekdom League, and I think that he could be very good in Inner Geekdom. I mean, the Fatal 4-Way is proof of that. But to me, Chandru stood out. And this is my analysis, agree with me or not, I think Chandru would have won the match had he not kept deferring in round 2. I thought that him deferring in round 2 and going last, the good categories are being picked.
Yeah.
You're getting these respins. You're putting yourself into a corner. Whereas, Brandon Hanna, he's like, let's go. Let's just run it. Come on. Let's do it. I want to go up. I want to do it. I want to get it over with.
Yeah, I think when you're... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's what.
I think when you're in a field of 4 or 5 players and you get to that second round, I think you want to go first, just because you never, as the categories dwindle, then the odds of you landing on spinner's choice, or either spinners or opponents, they become greater. But especially in the Inner Geekdom, though, if you have 4 people up there and 2 of them might have your strength and they land on your strength, now your strengths are gone, so now you're back on, maybe you're falling back on lesser strengths. It kind of seemed like this was the case for Chandru, you're right, but I thought he managed it very well. He only gave up 1 steal opportunity. And real quick about Brandon Hanna, though, you did have a good showing in that first first and second round. The second round, I mean, he stole all the steal opportunities, and that basically won him the match. Because if not for that, he might not come out on top, because it could have been Chance or Chandru. I mean, this is how tight the match got at the end too. Because remember, if Keaton doesn't miss 3 of her questions, those points aren't up for grabs, because Chance didn't convert on all of them, and Chandru, I believe, did not convert on all of those, but Brandon did, and that ended up being the difference in the end. So it was a pretty good fight all the way around.
No, I think that Brandon Hanna, man, I think that, first of all, I didn't pick him winning this match. After the first round, I thought Chandru was going to come through.
Yeah.
That's kind of who I found myself rooting for. But let me say this about Brandon Hanna. There's some things that guys, especially like Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy and others, have taught us about the movie trivia Schmoedown. More than anything else, it's about selling yourself, right? We want to see Andrew Guy play not because he's the greatest person at ever answering trivia questions. It's because we like him. We want to boo him.
Yeah.
We want to cheer him. We enjoy his presence. We enjoy his package. Well, that sounds weird. We enjoy his total package, the way that he presents himself. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Brandon Hanna, I think, was taking a play a little bit out of the Ben Bateman, Andrew Guy handbook, coming out in the suit, dressed real nice. You know what I mean? Wanted to present himself well. Wanted to come across as, I take myself seriously, I take this game seriously, and I got the knowledge to back it up. Total package Lex Luger.
I think that's partially true, but at the same time, and this is a critique of Brandon. I know Brandon, and I like Brandon a lot in real life, but he didn't. I thought at one point during the match, like, man, he seems happy to be there, and I mean that sarcastically, and he almost kind of drifted into the background for a majority of the match, and that can happen when there's 4 players up there, obviously, but it's just like he was there and then he wasn't. He just answered the questions and done. You talk about taking a page out of the Ben Bateman, Andrew Guy playbook. Yeah, he dressed for the part, but he certainly did not display here, at least in this match, the antics, the theatrics, or the charisma that you would get from a Ben or an Andrew. That might be a harsh critique, but that's just the way I saw it. But it's not to take away anything from his knowledge. I think he can be really good. And let's not forget, this is his first match in the Schmoedown under the lights, so that can be understandable as to why his demeanor might have been that way.
Yeah, okay. It's weird. It's weird. It's almost like a Rorschach test. You see what you want in these matches, and I didn't really get that as much. I found myself like, I thought that when he came out, immediately I thought he was the favorite, just the way he carried himself. I've never seen him play. I didn't know anything about his knowledge base. But when he came out, I was just like, oh, that's the guy. That's the favorite. I already know. That's the favorite. Even though he wasn't sitting in the favorite's chair, that was Chance Ellison.
Right, which is interesting.
I just thought that Brandon Hanna was the favorite.
But I think that...
Well, I guess...
I think the Schmoedown logic in this case would be that he has more wins because he played in other leagues, in teams and singles, than Keaton was one over because she played in Intergeekdom, had a win, but it hasn't. And then Chandru and obviously Brandon Hanna did not have any prior experience, so I think that's how the table got set. But it's here nor there.
Hey, I mean, like I said, we all can have our own opinions on this match. Even though Brandon Hanna won, I want to see more at Chandru. I'd like to see a one-on-one match between these two. I think that would be a great first match for both of them in Intergeekdom. You know what I mean? Let's just crawl. Let's start with the fresh meat. Let's work our way up. You know what I mean? And again, we have to make note of Keaton Markey, who was eliminated before the third round even started. I mean, what was your assessment? Was it categories? Was it just not her batch of questions? How was it compared to her last match in Intergeekdom? I mean, give me some stats on this one, Frank.
Yeah, Keaton didn't really play, obviously, that well here. And her prior matches hasn't played that great either, even though she has a win, a TKO win, nonetheless. But, 4 in the first round out of 10, that's not ideal, and these are supposed to be rudimentary Intergeekdom questions. And then, she got a category in Star Wars that, she couldn't maneuver around, even with times she went to multiple choice a few times, couldn't come up with those answers. If you have gaps like that, especially in Star Wars or it seemed like even with MCU, I mean, I think she has pockets of knowledge here, but like she said, she was hoping to get Harry Potter, right? And
Right.
if you're if you're a make or break player on a specific category in the inner geekdom, chances are it's not going to work out well for you majority of the time, and I think that's kind of what's going on here. So it all depends on if she wants to put in the work, because you can say whatever you want about teams and singles, but to inner geekdom, you legit have to put in actual study type of work in order to be any sort of threat in the inner geekdom division. I mean, you have to, they joke, they have binders full of trivia that they go through. And when you see those players play the matches, you see how high a level their knowledge is, and you got to take it to that level, especially in the inner geekdom. So if you want to be competitive, I'd say, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and we'll see if we see more from her later on in the season in Inner Geekdom. Maybe if there's some sort of opportunity where we think that she would fit in, we'll see if we see her again. But once again, Brandon Hanna, congratulations on a great win. This is a big win for you. You're officially in the Inner Geekdom division. I think that he's a prospect. We're recording this the night of the NBA draft, and I'm not so sure he's a Zion Williamson, but I think he's an R.J. Barrett. I think he might be an R.J. Barrett, top 3 pick. If I'm looking at that draft class that we saw on display in the Fatal 4-Way, I think he's a top pick. He's definitely a prospect who's going to work his way up. Chandru's another one. And Chance Ellison, I think you just go back to singles. I don't know why you want to crowd up that league. You know what I mean? I don't know why. Well, especially, do you see my point with Mike Kalinowski, though? Like, Mike Kalinowski is going after the Inner Geekdom Championship. I don't know why, corruption's not trying to divide and conquer.
So you don't like Who's the Boss then joining the Five Horsemen, because they're both going for the team belt. You don't like that either? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I'm not saying I dislike it, but at least that they were doing that separately of each other before they joined forces.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong. Look, can it cause problems? It can. You look at Bibiani and Roca, sure. But if there's an agreement there that, look, we're doing this for the betterment of the faction as a whole, and if I win the title, I want to win the title. If you want to win the title, we're going to go for it. And if it has to exchange hands multiple times, then so be it. We're going to control that belt.
Does that sound like Mike Kalinowski?
Look,
does that sound like Mike?
You think he was lying in his post-match interview? You think he was lying about what he said? I don't think so. So I think they're okay. I think they're good to go with that. And so they discussed it. And obviously, a chance gives much respect to Kalinowski. And I think, Kalinowski's more than, I think they're all right with it. Okay, look. For now.
Mike Kalinowski, if he gets through Kevin Smets and then Rachel Cushing at the live event in San Diego, and by some way, Chance Ellison works his way up to get number 1 contendership in the Inner Geekdom division, do you think that Chance Ellison beats Mike Kalinowski?
It depends. It depends how much.
No, it doesn't depend. It doesn't depend. Mike Kalinowski is one of the most elite Inner Geekdom players we've ever seen in the league.
Well, look, I've only seen Chance play one Inner Geekdom match. It looked pretty good, and it depends from here till then.
Did he win?
What?
Did he win?
No.
You know what?
But Kalinowski didn't win his first match either. Look what Chandru said in his post-match interview. Kalinowski didn't win his first match. Inman didn't win his first match. Kalinowski, Cushing didn't win their first match. And what did they go on to do? Win belts. So you can't tell me that this is a harbinger of him never winning a belt.
I just don't know why you're targeting a division that is already on lock from your leader. Like, if y'all want to go tag it up in the teams league, if you want to go back, and like I said, get somebody in the top 10.
Why does Stacey go get a partner in Tim Franco for the team division? Corruption's already got that on lock. You're right, Brad. Why did they even bother to show up?
Well, I don't know if they have that unlocked because they're not the champions. But I'm saying Mike's not the champion. Is a consistent. I'm saying, but he's a consistent. Okay. He was the champion, and he's a consistent number 1 contender. He's in the top 2 at all times in the Inner Geekdom division. I mean, it's just my thinking. You have your thinking, which is obviously wrong, and Brad's opinions are true in this point.
Sure.
So let's move on. Let's talk about one of the more infamous matches, maybe in movie trivia Schmoedown history.
I don't know. That's the right
Not
word.
a lot to delve into, but let's talk about the cutscene first. We saw Tom Dagnino. We saw Robert Meyer Burnett having a conversation. Not Robert Burnett. Tom Dagnino and Ben Bateman. I'm sorry. Having a conversation. prior to his match with Robert Meyer Burnett, and they were talking about the Five Horsemen. They almost didn't want to say it out loud. Dom Dagnino's like, what do you think about the... And he just throws up the 5. And Ben Bateman's like, yeah, I was a little weird about it, but man, now that we're in, I feel something. It's got something.
Yeah.
And then, Tom Dagnino kind of obliges, and he says, and then Ben goes, but why pick Roca
Sure.
for the manager bowl and not me? Which is a valid question. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really like Tom Dagnino's explanation of just saying, you've got bigger fish to fry, which is true. I mean, hey, you want to do maybe more than just the manager bowl, I guess, even though you winning the manager bowl could give Tom Dagnino the power over the league and maybe get you back into contention. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things that you could do with Tom Dagnino winning, and you might want to put that on your shoulders, because Ben Bateman reminds me of a hero ball type player in the NBA. He reminds me of somebody who in the fourth quarter, give me the ball.
ISO.
I'm putting the team on my back. Whether I die trying or whether I'm victorious, I'm going to play hero ball. Whether it's to my benefit or detriment, I'm playing it that way. So I did think it was a little interesting that Tom Dagnino chose John Roca. What did you think of this scene, the dynamic, and the reasoning for picking John Roca?
I did like this a lot between both Ben and Tom. It was interesting to hear them kind of discuss, we're part of the Five Horsemen now. This is crazy. You and John Roca are in the same faction. Who would have thought that happened? And you're right, Ben, and Dagnino agrees that Ben has every right to ask, why would you pick Roca over me? And I suppose Riley could have asked the same. All of them could have asked that question. Why would you,
right.
But especially Ben to Tom, because obviously they come from outside of the group initially, and they're the two outsiders. So last week I said it was a great way to extend an olive branch to Roca, from Dagnino to Roca. And, I thought we were going to kind of hear some of that here between Ben. I thought that would have been, hey, Ben, look, yes, you have bigger fish to fry, but, we got to try and make this work, because you're right, there's something special here that we could run the league. We could have our hands on singles and teams, or, he said all the belts, so they're looking at Inner Geekdom. I don't know who, but, they're looking down the road at that league, or that division. And I thought we would have heard, from Tom, hey, this is a good way to kind of bring us together, to show that we're all on the same side. I got to do this. And plus, look, Roca can take care of it. It's not that I don't believe in you, Ben, because he calls him the best. He thinks he's the best player in the league. And, I thought we would have heard more of that, but his simple explanation of, you got more fish to fry, Roca can beat these people with his eyes closed, I thought it was very simple, but, it is what it is. So they seem to pretty excited, though, what lies ahead for potentially with the Five Horsemen.
You bringing that up, though, because they did say they have the potential to get all the belts. And you would think that, okay, they've already got one, right? They've got, the singles championship. Either of the founding fathers or Who's the Boss could conceivably be the team champions here by the end of the year.
Sure.
And then you say Inner Geekdom. Who could be Inner Geekdom? You know who I would love to see in Inner Geekdom out of the Five Horsemen? I would love to see Mark Riley.
Yeah.
In Inner Geekdom. If you listen to him on Collider Live, the guy knows his comic book movies for sure. He's a fan of all the really Inner Geekdom categories. He's a comic book reader. I even remember watching. He's host of Rule of Two. He knows Star Wars. So I think that he would probably be kind of vicious in the Inner Geekdom League, and I'm almost shocked that we haven't seen him dip his toe in that before.
It's interesting you bring that up, because and the one thing we should have mentioned at the top actually was last weekend, Schmoedown had a taping day, and during the tape day, they had a live Q&A on the Schmoedown channel, and Riley was actually was on that live stream, and someone asked him about Inner Geekdom, and he said he won't do it. He wouldn't do it. He thought about it, but now he sees what the league has become. He can't do it. I think when we talked to Ben here on the show, he looked at the league now and he's like, I need a lot more time to get ready for that. Roca in that live stream also once again said that he's looking towards entering the Star Wars division, so that would lock up that part. I think you got to be looking at somebody else. You look at Brandon Hanna's out there now. You got Chandra Dandapani's out there. They had really good showings out there. Obviously, Brandon won, and you're not going to pick up Chansky's with corruption, so they could be looking at either one of those two. You never know, and bring them in.
Oh, you're saying recruit Six Horsemen.
Well, Dagnino's the manager,
actually,
so right?
Yeah,
right?
So he's the honorary fifth right now.
Yeah,
From what I've been told by Yeah, from what I've been told by inside sources within the league, he is a placeholder of sorts, but more of an honorary figure than an actual member. More of a player coach in some ways.
Sure.
Than an actual member of the Five Horsemen. But he isn't. He is affiliated, so we have to do that. It's like the Wu-Tang Clan. There's all the kinds of affiliations with the Wu-Tang. Like La the Dark Man, he wasn't really in Wu-Tang, but he's affiliated with Wu-Tang. Red Man, same thing. So that's kind of Dagnino's role right now. So I could see them recruiting maybe one more, Brandon Hanna, a Chandru, or anyone else in the league. I mean, what if they can't get Smets, they can't get Kalinowski?
Yeah.
Rachel is technically not in a faction anymore.
It's true.
But I don't see her joining the Horsemen.
No.
I think we would have to see what happens after Collision. Then I think that maybe something like that could present itself.
Sure.
Depending on what happens with the Shire Wolves, if they're able to recapture those championships, then I don't think there's a possibility.
Yeah, because...
But, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But let's talk about this match.
Okay.
All right, cool. We talked about it. No.
It was 1-2 after the first round. Holy moly. Ugh.
Okay, look, here's the thing. We can sit here and crap all over it. That's very easy to do. But let's not do that, because let's talk about it from this aspect. We have actually seen Tom Dagnino, even though he is now, I believe, 0-4 in the singles league, not ever getting a win. He's been close before, though. He's actually been very close. He almost beat Josh Makuga. Yes, he almost beat Josh Makuga. We've seen him do well-ish in the Commissioner Manager Bowls, right? And he always like the second to the last guy to get eliminated.
Yeah.
And he almost won the first free-for-all.
Right.
So he almost did. He was right there, just a bit outside.
Yeah.
And so he has a knowledge base. Robert Meyer Burnett. Let's go back to him. Let's go back to Robert Meyer Burnett. Actually, I just got to know, did Dagnino beat Schnepp?
He did.
He did.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was as Finstock. So you don't, because as Finstock he's like 2-3, but as Dagnino he's now 0-4.
All right, producer Chris, you were close. Swing and a miss though, brother. But he has a knowledge base, is what I'm saying. And then Robert Burnett, we know he was the Inner Geekdom champion.
Yeah,
the man held the championship. I don't know if that's not acknowledged anymore or not, but the man held the championship.
Yeah, it depends who you ask, I guess.
It depends on who you ask, for sure. But so we have a former champion in the league, and then you have a guy who's been close on several opportunities to win big match situations. So maybe it was just the questions. You know what I mean? Maybe it just wasn't their role of questions. We talked last week about the luck of the game. It wasn't their knowledge base.
Yeah.
It was just way past where they were.
But Dagnino did bring up a good point in saying, who's ever putting these questions together should look at who's at the table. Just, for this one time, maybe they look at the table and go, you know what, these guys, But that's a funny argument to be had and to make. Which I kind of agree with. I kind of agree with that, because if only for this match, because it's not, these guys aren't competing for singles titles. This is more of a grudge match than anything. So just, make it a little bit more competitive for our sake, I guess. Easier on the eyes. I don't know.
Well, are you talking like more of a celebrity match style where the questions were a little bit
not quite to that level, but maybe somewhere in between.
Can we just there you go.
Yeah.
Can we just take a second and acknowledge that the great Hall of Famer Becky G has played in the movie Trivia Schmoedown?
I do every day, Brad.
Brother. Anyway, so this match ends with a win from Robert Meyer Burnett. I wouldn't say it was a fight from behind.
The undefeated Robert Meyer Burnett.
But now he is 1-0 in singles. Yeah. In singles, he's 1-0. Do you think that he's got a bright future ahead of him, Frank Janisch, in the singles league?
Survey says no.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. He's a manager now. He's not really an active player, so therefore he hasn't been studying, I'm sure, as vigorously as maybe he did in the past, especially for Inner Geekdom. And, the match was what it was. It was an appetizer for the main course, which was JTE versus Liz Shannon Miller winner of this, and we were a little bit off in our analysis last week. For some reason, I thought that winner went to JTE, but it's actually winner goes to the Paul Oyama match. So Liz Shannon Miller versus JTE. The winner with that would get Paul Oyama at the Collision.
Yeah.
And I said last week I thought that Liz Shannon Miller had something, but not enough to beat Chance Ellison. To beat Paul Oyama or JTE. Well, I was wrong, sort of.
Sort of, yeah.
I was wrong, sort of. There's a lot of controversy in this match that we got to talk about.
A little.
JTE after round 1 is up by 1 after a slow start. And then we get into round 2. JT goes and spins first, gets Ridley Scott, keeps it because he says, I'm a big fan of Ridley Scott. Now, I want to know, I don't know if you have a stat of this off the top of your head, but I know Ridley Scott has been pulled several times in the movie Trivia Schmoedown. How do you know anywhere close to how many times? No, that's not a stat you keep.
No,
okay,
no,
I was hoping that
not
you
off the top of my head.
be a little bit better statistician. But
oh yeah, okay, great, yeah, thanks. That's great feedback that I can use. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just be better.
Okay, cool.
Well, how can I improve? Just do better.
Just do better.
That's always my favorite thing. I had a coach tell me that one time in T-ball. How do I make better contact, coach? Just do better. You know what I mean? Just do better.
Yeah.
But JTE picks Ridley Scott, and he was a little bit perturbed by the questions that were asked because he thought that they were a little bit more difficult than typical Ridley Scott round 2 questions maybe should be. Do you agree or disagree?
I'm half with him here on this one because I actually did know the Gladiator question. I did know the Blade Runner question. The other two I didn't. But I will agree with his argument that when you look at his questions and you compare them to what they're asking for towards Liz Shannon Miller's Monsters category, not very on the same level. Who played this? Who played that? And his was more detailed in terms of what was on Maximus's armor, his horses, like. And the only reason I know that is because he talks to Lucius at the little holding area, whatever, and he's like, I named them after my 2 horses. Anyway, so tangent. So I understand where he's coming from, and I think he has a decent argument here because, especially, and look, I got to say, if you're at the table asking the questions, and you see the road that you're going down, or, in terms of, well, we're asking basically for actor names now for Liz, and for JT, we're asking for little details in the movie. Is that fair? So I think maybe sometimes you got to throw. I mean, there was more of a detailed question on that last one, but they weren't. It was just. I understand what he's saying, but it is the game.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Were they more difficult by themselves, or were they more difficult in comparison to Liz Shannon Miller's question?
I think in comparison, because I think everything that was asked of JT is a fair question, but in comparison, in terms of what you're looking for, I mean, if you're going to ask for actor names, that's fairly easy because it doesn't really require you to have seen the movie at all.
Right.
Whereas JTE's, you needed to see the movie in order to know there were horses on Maximus's, armor. You needed to have...
And maybe see the movie multiple times.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Blade Runner question. That one's a little more trickier just because it's not... I mean, they mentioned it a few times in the movie about the 4-year lifespan, but I don't think you could get that by just reading the IMDb page. So, whereas for Liz's, for majority of her questions, you could say all you had to do is read the IMDb page. So I understand what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, because hers were like, who played Frankenstein's monster?
Right.
Who played Dracula? They were a little bit on the... I mean, I knew some of those, and when I know a question, it means it's a pretty easy question.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you, brother. So I get what he's saying. Some people are saying that he got screwed. Do you feel like he got screwed?
I don't think it's screwed because those questions that he was asked weren't... I mean, he may think they're terribly hard because there's details, but, I mean, there is a chunk in that movie, if you've seen it, where he's talking about his horses, and they talk about, the things that he missed, they do talk about it. It's not like it was here and then it was gone for, it was there for a second, it's gone. I didn't think that. So, I mean, they weren't those weren't 5-pointer questions. That's what kind of he was reacting with, which I understand. If you're gonna complain about something, then you take it to the max and make a big deal out of it, sure. But I don't think he got screwed. No.
Well, Liz Shannon Miller goes on to beat JTE in a hard-fought battle. JT tried to come back from behind after he got 0, I believe.
He got 0 correct in that second round.
In round 2.
Liz blows through hers, and she got a 1-point steal off of him.
There's pretty much no shot.
Yeah.
There's pretty much just no shot. If you go 0 in round 2, there's pretty much no shot. And you know what? This is what I said, though, about JT last week. He's a 500 player. He's a great player. He's a legend of the game. But I don't see him as an unbeatable character, or unbeatable competitor, rather. I see it. He
has 10
depends on the day.
losses. He's the first player with double-digit losses.
Well, see, there you go. But let's not make him look like he doesn't know anything.
No.
I mean, he had a really terrible year 2 years, maybe 2 years ago?
And then he went on the tournament run that he lost to, the singles tournament run that he lost to Sam Levine. Sam Levine had one of the all-time years, and that's who JTE lost in the tournament final. So it's not like, he's this wash-up. But it doesn't look good. And plus, his match against Jonathan Harris, in my opinion, wasn't the greatest either. So, sometimes you just have a run of questions that just don't go your way, and obviously that second round, because he proclaimed he's a big Ridley Scott fan, so it just sometimes goes that way.
It didn't go his way.
Yeah.
But Liz Shannon Miller, a big upset, I still think, even though early in her career, we know that she's touted to have a lot of movie knowledge, but still an upset to beat somebody like a JTE, double-digit losses or not. He's still one of the players of the game. He's a standard bearer. He's a journeyman in some aspects of the league, but has also been a champion in the teams league. So he's somebody you can't take lightly. Liz Shannon Miller beats him, and then now we're setting up for Collision against Paul Oyama. Winner of that gets a shot at Dan Murrell, and we're going to talk about the Collision here right now. Any more thoughts on any of the 3 matches that we saw today, Frank Janisch?
I just want to say Liz Shannon Miller's first round, 4 points. That concerns me.
Yeah. Especially against a guy like Paul Oyama. We're going to break that down. We're going to have to break down this whole card right now. And I feel like the rest of our show should be dedicated to this very, very event that's going down live Saturday on the Movie Trivia Schmoedown Patreon. If you're a patron, rather, you can get this link available to you at $10 or higher. Go to triviasd.com to find out how you can get the full link if you just want to buy it. I think also, is it available on triviasd.com or the Schmoedownlive.com?
The Schmoedownlive.com.
It's the Schmoedownlive.com. Okay, thank you for correcting me. The Schmoedownlive.com is where you can get tickets to the live link as we are talking now about the Collision. Frank Janisch. This is the third, I believe, Collision. Or is it the fourth? Third. It's the third Collision. Each year I feel like Collision's getting bigger and bigger, and I think this is the most stacked card in the history of the Collision, in my opinion. When you look at it, and for it to be live, you're getting several matches, 4 matches, all big-time matches, though. You have the Manager Bowl, you have the Inner Geekdom #1 contender, you have the Singles Division #1 contender, and then you have a championship match, the rematch of this, probably the most anticipated rematch this year so far.
So far.
And maybe even, definitely so far, between Odd Couple and the Shire Wolves. So I say let's start at the top. In the matches this week leading up to this event, we saw some of the Manager Bowl being put together. We found out who was playing for who, and there's a great scene between Jay Washington and Sam Levine, where Sam Levine was taking a break behind a poster
Live your life.
or something, and I love that Jay was looking like under the trash can and under the couch trying to find Sam Levine. And then Jay Washington says that Janine the Machine is going to be his pick. Sam Levine's like, hey, great pick. And he seems to be okay with Jay Washington being in charge of the league because they have some sort of kinship with one another. And Sam Levine wants to see Emma's life miserable?
Hey,
what is that about? What do you think's going on between those two?
I think Sam's bored. And he wouldn't be bored if he would just do his job. So I think, there you go. If he just did his job, he wouldn't be bored. He wouldn't have to look to mess around with someone. And now that, this stipulation is going to be coming through after the Manager Bowl, I think what's nice about it is, or it's a good idea on his part, is to cozy up to those that might be in charge. And so that way you don't feel the wrath, Emma would feel the wrath because, Emma's been the more stern commissioner of the two, obviously, and Levine has a very lax approach thus far. So, if he gets in good with whoever might be in power for a month, he could have it on, he could have a pretty easy month, whereas Emma's going to be stressing every week about, some other kind of stipulation or regulation that comes thrown her way. So it could be, it could be interesting to see down the road how these little interactions he has with, like even Grace and Ken, and Jay.
Yeah.
And let's see what comes out of that.
Well, here's the thing. Sam Levine's a star. First of all, he's a star. He's been on the silver screen. Unlike you, in the boat.
And you, right.
The boat's done an independent film. By the way, I played a man named Donnie Williams. in a movie called Live, Love, Laugh. Yes, I was an agent to the stars. You can find that movie online somewhere. But I had a small role, but a key role. One of the funniest parts of the entire movie. Live, Love, Laugh. I'm in it. Yeah, that's me. Anyway, Sam Levine's a star. All right, he can't be bothered all the time with these small little things that are going on in the league. All right. He is a decision maker. He is Roger Goodell. Hey, when something big happens, knock on my door, and then I'll address it. If it's something small, figure it out on your own, all right? I don't need to worry with all these small, minute details of things. I'm a vision guy.
He's
I'm
an
a
idea
macro
guy.
I'm not a micro guy. I'm a macro guy. I'm not a micro. Don't bother me. I don't need to micromanage the league. I'm a visionary, right? I'm one of the top 5 greatest players this league has ever seen. Don't bother me with that, all right? And then, Emma, he wants to see Emma, maybe squirm and suffer a little bit. That's fine. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. He's a competitor. He's still a competitor. Even though he's retired, he's a competitor. All right? He competes.
Is he a competitor? I think he's a competitor.
He's a competitor. And you know what that's called?
Commissioning. That's exactly right.
So let's talk about the manager ball. So now we know we're going to see Stacey Howard, Janine the Machine, Eric Zipper, John Roca, and Drew McWeeny all in this match. This is a pretty stacked manager bowl, probably the most talent in one manager bowl that we've seen because there are actually no managers in it. They're all competitors.
Correct.
And I want you to go first because I think that I have maybe an outside-the-box choice for this match, but who do you see winning?
A lot of things, history mainly, points to McWeeny coming up with the W. There can be a lot of arguments made for John Roca. Of course, former singles league champion. And then you look at Janine. She's been close in some of these big matches. Look at New York. Look at last year's Collision, actually, that triple threat with Stacey Howard and Andreyko, which, by the way, now she's back at a table with Stacey Howard once again after a huge blow-up, So that'll be interesting to see. Stacey Howard, has not played great. In her last few matches. She had a decent team match, but that was teams. And then you look at Eric Zipper. I'm just going to take a loss on that one. Sorry, Zip. Janine, I want to say Janine just to be bold, but I also think sometimes it's the obvious choice is the right one, and that is McWeeny. I think he's going to take it, but man, I would not be surprised if Janine wins. But I'm going to pick McWeeny.
Yeah, it's interesting. You say, you want to be bold. And there's an old phrase, Frank Janisch, about history favors the bold. And that's why I'm picking Janine the Machine.
I knew you
would.
This
has actually been my original pick.
I knew you would.
You didn't know.
Yes, I did. That's why I said.
Read the boats,
yeah, I read it. I got the manifest. Don't worry about it.
You got the manifest. Okay. I appreciate that. That was good. I'm picking Janine the Machine. And I actually talked to Christian Harloff earlier this week. And I told him this was who I was picking for the match because Janine, man, she walked into New York like a house on fire, right? The entrance, the play, the level of play was phenomenal. Barely lost. I'm talking about by the skin of her teeth. She barely lost that match. And somebody like Janine, the way I've seen her play, and then having Jay in her corner, she's motivated, man. Mm-hmm. She wants to prove that I'm not just going to be somebody who's always right there. I'm going to be right there.
Sure.
I'm going to be at the top. I'm going to get the big win. And she has yet to have a big win, quote unquote, in her Schmoedown career. She's had big moments. She's been almost there, never got there. She's motivated, Frank Janisch, and I think the machine is going to come out and live up to her name, and she's going to be a machine. And you say Drew McQueenie. Drew McQueenie, history favors Drew McQueenie, maybe in the teams league. What's Drew McQueenie done in singles, really? And I'm not trying to disparage the man, but I remember at one point people thought that he was unstoppable, and he was the favorite against a guy named Jeff Snyder, and Jeff Snyder whooped up on him, beat him. Easy money, right? Easy money for one half of the team champions right now. So Drew McQueenie, boom, we're going to put him to the side. Eric Zipper, I don't know. Big question mark for me. He's a big question mark. He's either good or he's bad, and I don't know. This isn't Inner Geekdom. This is regular singles play, right? I mean, this is going to be regular questions. It's not going to be a focused, concentrated subject matter. I'm not sure how well he's going to excel in that. This is going to be kind of a foray into the unknown for Eric Zipper, especially competing against people who are higher up in the rankings than he is. Let's go to Stacey Howard, another person who, she's a question mark too for me, to be honest with you. I think Stacey, especially when she was in 6 Degrees and you had her and Brienne, they were a good team. I think her biggest claim to fame in singles is the win against Mark Ellis in the singles tournament. And then since then, I don't know. Since then, she's kind of gone back to teams, and I think that she's going to excel there with Tim Franco. But in singles, I'm not exactly sure. So then that leaves us with John Roca, who I think should be the favorite in this match for most people. John Roca, two-time champion. He's a former team champion. He's one of the most historic players in the league. He's a first-ballot Hall of Famer. You could even make the argument that he is the greatest player of all time. You could make that argument. And if he's not, he's in the top 3, for sure. He's got to be in the top 3. He's on that Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
So I think he's the favorite. But how hungry is he to win this? When Roca's hungry, when he's motivated, now he's always a competitor.
Yeah.
He's always a competitor. He always comes to play. But coming to play and being hungry are two different things. Coming to play, Michael Jordan, you don't think Michael Jordan came to play when he was on the Wizards? The brother came to play. He wanted to ball out. But was he hungry for it? Did he really want to win a championship? Did he think that he had that run in him? Probably not. Not after three-peating 2 times in a row. So, or 2 separate occasions, I should say.
Yeah.
So is John Roca hungry to win this? I don't know. I can't answer that. Will he come to play? Absolutely. Is he hungry? I don't think so. That's why I'm going to go with Janine the Machine. I think she's the most logical choice. She's got such a great knowledge base, and we've seen her time and time again get so close and come up short, and I think she's going to break that streak at the Manager Bowl, frankly. That's my pick.
She certainly could do it. I really do think it will be a three-horse race here between Roca McQueenie and Janine. I think McQueenie is going to get... I'm picking McQueenie mostly because I want to see that faction win, because it would be the most interesting for the league as a whole. They have Robert Meyer Burnett, Andrew Guy, and I guess you could say McQueenie pulling the strings for a month, because there would be, I think, a lot of chaos ensuing, and it would be great theater. But as I get closer to this match, I can't help but think Janine does have a shot at it. So, I would begrudge no one for picking Janine. I think she is a legit threat. And here's the thing. Everyone in that match knows it. And I think maybe everyone else is thinking about Janine more winning it than, let's say, McQueenie thinking about Roca winning, or Roca thinking McQueenie would win it. I think they're very cautious of Janine coming in there and making them look like fools. And I don't know if that's the fuel that can fend off a run by Janine in that match. I don't know. So I'm looking. This is very interesting. And hey, look, if things go right for Stacey Howard, she's one of these players that needs a lot of things to go right, I think, for her. If things fall her way in that match, all of a sudden now it's a 4-person race. And then Zip, look, he played pretty well in teams, and that's not Inner Geekdom. So he could play spoiler. However, if he doesn't bring his best game here, you get to that second round. Now we're looking at multiple steal opportunities for all these players, and then who's going to be able to capitalize on them? Because you look at what Brandon Hanna did in that 4-way, and he capitalized and he won. And I think you get a player who's not playing well in that second round for this Manager Bowl. They give up these steal opportunities. That could really decide the game going into the final round.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think you're dealing a little bit too much in if this, then that happens.
This whole game is that.
If I was 5 inches taller and had a full beard, I'd be James Harden. All right, we could play the if game all day, but I think that when it comes to it, you got to look at it from a point of logic, Frank Janisch, and you got to look at it by momentum, motivation. That's why I picked Janine the Machine. Now let's go into the second match. The number one contendership for the Inter-Geekdom division may be one of the more anticipated matches of the season.
Of all time.
You're seeing, of all time.
That's me.
You're seeing Mike Kalinowski, former Inter-Geekdom champion of the world, going against a man who is 3-0 with 3 knockouts. You're going against Kevin the Smasher Smets. And here's the thing. Before we talk about this, on the Hall of Fame on ESPN Wednesday night with Booker T and I, we actually got a phone call from a little man named Kaiser.
You did.
And Kaiser called in, and he had some things to say. And the one thing that surprised me about Kaiser, when I asked him, how is this match going to play out? Is the Smasher going to do what he said, make Kalinowski live up to the name KO and knock him out? And Kaiser said, look, man, I'm not going to play with you right now. Of course, Kevin Smets is going to win this match, but Mike Kalinowski is a phenomenal player. He's a great player. He's an all-time player in the league. He goes, I think it's going to be Kevin, but I think it's going to come down to the wire. So even Kaiser and Kevin Smets are probably prepping themselves for a long battle. It's going to maybe come down to the last question. And Kevin Smets was also on Collider Live earlier this week. Some secrets may have gotten out about him that we don't need to bring up again. We don't need to bring them up because, hey, look, if a competitor out there who listens to this show didn't hear that, y'all can go listen to it. We don't need to discuss strategies on here. But Kevin Smets knows what kind of challenge he has ahead, and he's a fan of Mike Kalinowski. You can hear that in his voice. You can hear that he respects him. You can hear that he appreciates his play. And that's why I think this is going to be an all-time knockdown, drag-out match. I'm going to go, once again, I'm going to go with the numbers. I'm going with Kevin Smets.
Yeah, I'm going with Kevin Smets, too. The dude's on a tear. He's playing at a level we have not seen since, actually, Mike Kalinowski in last year's tournament run, at least through his first few matches, where he was just knocking people out silly and answering at an insane high rate. He was like in the 90 percentile, and that's where Smets is at right now. And sure, Kalinowski didn't reach the final. He ran into Mark Anopic, and they had a great battle there, and he wasn't able to come out on top. Kevin Smets, though, man, look. Let me touch on what Roxy said on Collider Live a little bit, because okay. I tweeted out my thoughts a little bit about what I thought was going on there. And look, she keeps talking about how does Roxy keeps saying, how do people know how Kevin trains and this and that and the other? Whose fault is it? That's Kaiser's fault. That information should be out there. Honestly, I don't think it matters if you know every single thing that Kevin Smets does to train. I really don't, because are you, as another competitor, going to go and do exactly what he does? If you do, can you do it as well as him? Can you retain information as well as him? Can you do everything that he does, but better? You would have to do what he does, but better, to be better than Kevin Smets, because he's proven that the way he trains, so far he hasn't been stopped, and I know Kalinowski thinks he can be the one to do it, and he has his own regimen that he's put through the ringer and got him to the title and won the title. I don't think the fact that people are talking about how Kevin Smets trains, I think that gets in their mind, because when they get in that match, they go, I know what he does, and look how he's playing right now. I know what I do, and I've missed a couple questions. Maybe he is better than me. Maybe that gets into players' minds. So the fact that this is such a problem for other people, how does Jason Inman know this? I think that's ludicrous. But at the same time, Roxy has to say this stuff. She has to. She has to get in people's minds. She's sowing chaos all over the league. We talked about how she's made a huge impact in the league already in the first half of the year. This is her meddling where she doesn't need to meddle, but it could be to her benefit down the line if she ever runs into the dungeon, let's say, or runs into Kaiser, right? She's ready to put herself out there and says, I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm going to speak my mind. And look, if I get in your head, so be it.
No, I think you actually brought up several great points, which is why I'm so shocked. I mean, I'm not used to that. You brought up several great points, Frank Janisch, and I think that it could be twofold. You could be right in the sense of people knowing his study strategy might play to his benefit rather than his detriment. But I do agree with Roxy in the sense of, and whether she was doing it for mental games or not, you shouldn't know. And Kevin even went on Collider Live and repeated his weakness. And she was like, you just reiterated your weakness.
But is it a weakness? You know what I mean? He missed one question. Like, okay, if you think that's his...
It's one that he doesn't like.
Right. But if you think you're going to go, I'm going to get him again on this one, on quotes, you don't think this dude has studied up on quotes after that match? Come on.
No, and I see what you're saying. Now, let's get back, though, to the contest that we're going to see, though.
Yeah.
I mean, are we discounting Mike Kalinowski too much? Are we on the hype train of Kevin Smets?
There's a little bit of hype on Kevin, but look, I have tremendous respect for Kalinowski. What he did to get to the levels he's reached is to be commended, and I think Kevin Smets actually owes a lot of credit to Kalinowski for laying that kind of groundwork in terms of what it takes to be at the top of the food chain in Inner Geekdom, and I think, Kaiser and Smets do have a lot of respect for Kalinowski, as they should, as everyone should. It is going to be a dogfight. It's going to be an intense match. I think this very well could go multiple rounds of sudden death. I really do believe that. So if you're watching Collision Live, I hope you have enough popcorn at the end of the second match, because this could go deep. I think the Mara Rachel sudden death went 11 rounds. I wouldn't be surprised if we touch double digits as well with this match. I think that's the only way this match ends is sudden death. I really do. And that's a 50-50 shot when you're in that position, right? So because they're first round asked questions, or should be first round type of questions, and it's who blinks first. And so we look at how Kevin's played in the first round, how Kalinowski plays in the first round. I mean, they're lights out, hitting 8-9 perfect rounds in first round. So it could be a long, long sudden death if we get to that. I thought it was going to be like that for the Kalinowski-Rachel match. Didn't turn out to be the case.
It could have been.
It could have been, if not for a consonant. But so it's a Raval. And, hey, that's how I think it's going to go. But I would love to see Smets win, just because an undefeated record going up against the greatest of all time in Inner Geekdom, Rachel Cushing, in San Diego would be, either way, it's spicy.
Either way, it's a huge match.
Yeah.
Either you get one of the most anticipated rematches of the year, maybe the most compared to our main event. I don't know. It's up for either the main event of Collision or that match would be the most anticipated rematch in quite some time in the movie trivia Schmoedown. Or you get, like you said, undefeated versus champion. And I don't know. I think either one of them are a guaranteed sellout. I'm going to go with... here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
I'm going with Kevin Smets. I am. But I'm not confident about it.
Yeah, this one's... yeah.
I'm like 60-40. I really am. I'm like 60-40.
Sure.
And I've talked to a lot of people within the league who don't agree with me, who think Mike Kalinowski is going to pull this one off. They really do. And they said, look at what he did against Rachel, look what he did against Mara at the Spectacular, and then look what he does in live events. That's where he thrives. And this is a live event, even though it might not be in front of a arena at the World Gym Arena or in Chicago or wherever. It's still a live event. So you
the
still
energy.
know, thousands and thousands of people are watching, and he was a part of that Schmoedown Throwdown. He knows what to expect in this environment. So I mean, I could see him winning. I really could. But I'm picking Kevin Smets. I'm 60-40 on him. All right, let's go to another number one contender match. Lightning Liz Shannon Miller versus Prime Time, a.k.a. The Shark, Paul Oyama. Who you got in this one, Frank?
I'm going Paul Oyama. Yeah. And if only because Liz Shannon Miller's first rounds concern me because, look, she had 4 against JTE. She's been good. She had 7 in her first match, 6 in her second one, but this 4 didn't really sit well with me. She had a nice, obviously second round, but I think Paul, though, he comes into this, they call him prime time, and he's gonna he has the opportunity to prove, in fact, that he is prime time, because Liz Shannon Miller may have as much knowledge as Paul Oyama. However, I think Paul is thirsty for this kind of spotlight and is willing and wants to take advantage of it. And Liz Shannon Miller, I don't know what she's going to be like in this environment. The energy is going to be unlike anything she's ever experienced sitting at that table because, her past few matches, it wasn't live. It wasn't for a shot at the title. It wasn't with, more than, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 people in that room or in the studio, whatever. There's going to be probably like 100 people in that space, and everyone's right next to each other, on top of each other, looking at you every single time you answer a question. And people are going to be gasping. People are going to be hooting and hollering for right and wrong answers. I don't know how she's going to respond to that. I don't know how she's going to respond to that environment. And so for that, I got to give it to Paul because I think he's been thinking about this much longer than Liz Shannon Miller's probably known about the Schmoedown. So for that reason, I got to go Paul. And plus, his knowledge is incredible, and I think all of this favors Paul in my estimation.
Okay, man. You know what? We could deep dive into this one a little bit more, but I think that we've already made our really feelings felt about Paul Oyama very clear on last week's show. Liz Shannon Miller beat JT, David Del Rio. Those are good wins. I don't feel the momentum on her side. Even though with those wins, I don't feel the momentum. I feel it on Paul Oyama's side. I think that the kid's got it, man.
Yeah.
And we when you're not sure who's going to win between him and Dan Murrell, the kid's got it.
Yeah.
And I really like Paul Oyama. I've really come around on him. So I'm going to go Paul Oyama here. And I'm going to go Paul Oyama by knockout. I'll be honest with you.
I won't go that far.
Paul Oyama by knockout.
I won't go that far.
I'm going Paul Oyama by knockout. History favors the bold.
Okay.
Give this man a gold
You are
piece.
so brave.
He's got a story to tell.
So brave.
You remember that from Beowulf?
No.
Give this man a gold piece. He's got a story to tell.
No, I was asleep during class when they read that probably.
Beowulf is great. Robert Zemeckis.
Oh, the movie.
Great
Okay,
film.
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie, even though she was a cartoon, she was like golden and hot. You know what I mean? So, great movie. Great movie. Great movie. Okay, now we get to our main event.
That's right.
Man. The rematch of all rematches. The odd couple. The current team champions, who are 5-1 with 2 knockouts, going against the Shire Wolves, which this is really weird to say, are 6-1 with 2 knockouts and are the challengers in this match. Frank Janisch, the first encounter with these two, I think a lot of people counted the odd couple out. I think they counted the managerial skills of Roxy Stryer out. I don't think that anyone thought it was conceivable that the Shire Wolves would lose to any other team other than Who's the Boss. I think that everyone was like, okay, if they get Who's the Boss again, I think they might lose. But anyone else, I don't see them beating the Shire Wolves. And guess what? They got beat. They got beat by Jeff Snyder and Mark Andreyko. Jeff Snyder, now the greatest team player of all time. I think you even ranked him number 1 in your list, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, you had a crazy list.
I got an
what was that
article
list
coming
again?
out. I got an article coming out about it on TriviaSD.com. You can look for that. On my list, I had Snyder number 1, McWeeny number 2, Clark Wolf number 3, Bibiani 4, and JTE 5.
What a wild list.
Isn't it?
What
a lot of people were like,
list.
you didn't put Rachel on there? And in the article, I explained why. And it's mainly because...
And no...
And no Roca. And no Roca.
No Roca, yeah.
It's Roca lost to the Patriots 3 times. And each loss got worse and worse. Rachel Cushing, she was 2-3 with the Nerds Watch. Her stats weren't that great. Ken Knapsack's first round accuracy was just as good as Rachel's, which is like in the high 50 percentile, so it's not great either. But if the Shire Wolves were to win this match, Rachel automatically jumps into that top 5 for me. And I do think the Shire Wolves are going to win because the Shire Wolves are going to come play their game. I've heard, people talk about how Clark said, that was old Clark playing. That wasn't the Shire Wolves Clark playing. That was Wolves of Steel playing. Wolves of Steel Clark playing. Next time we go out there, I'm gonna be the Clark the Clark Wolf that has been playing for the Shire Wolves. We're going to see that Clark, and I think we're going to see a very motivated Rachel because this is what she's really concentrating on right now at the moment. I hope she's not concentrating on the Inner Geekdom Championship in July.
She's got to be concentrating on it.
After Saturday, she will. And so it's the Shire Wolves' best game. If they play their game, the Odd Couple can play their best game. It's not going to beat the Shire Wolves. You just look at their numbers, the discrepancy there. Shire Wolves have proven the consistency. Odd Couple, we talk about Andreyko, give you up and down. Can he play another hot game? I don't know. That would be like 3 matches in a row he's played a hot game. I don't know that he can do it. Snyder, obviously, you have to. He's the greatest team player of all time, and for a reason, because he can bounce off his teammate. He knows how to play the game, strategize, play a little theatrics, get in your opponent's head. But I don't know that all that stuff's going to work this time around because the Shire Wolves are too smart and too motivated this time around. Way more motivated. Because like you even talk about, you get that first loss in your belt, and now you get hit in the mouth. And you're like, whoa. You know, you refocus. You refocus, and I think that's exactly the team that's going to show up, and that one is going to end in a TKO.
Wow. Yeah, Frank Janisch.
There we go.
As much as I would like to agree with you, I do not. Because the Odd Couple, okay, you upset the undefeated Shire Wolves. No one saw it coming. No one predicted it happening, but you did it. And sometimes, no matter how dominant another team is, sometimes you're just not going to... You find your kryptonite that you just can't beat. I mean, Mike Tyson, one of the most dominant boxers of all time. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the greatest of all time, especially knockout artists, just couldn't get past Evander Holyfield. No matter what he did. Evander shouldn't have beat him on paper. He shouldn't have beaten him, especially not more than once. Mike Tyson just couldn't beat Evander Holyfield. And for some reason, stats may not agree with it. Past history may not agree with it. I think that once the Shire Wolves lost, that drive to maybe break the Patriots record or that drive to continue the undefeated streak, I think it dwindled. I think it's over. I don't think that the flame has been reignited. I think they're going to see if they can go out there, swing with the champs again, and if they win, they win. If they hit one right on the chin, beautiful. I don't know how motivated they are to win, and you already talked about it. Rachel's got another match to plan for, and guess what? You don't think that during this collision she's going to be watching Kevin Smets, Mike Kalinowski?
No, I don't.
You don't think she's going to be watching that?
No, I don't.
I absolutely think
she'll watch it later.
She's going to be watching that.
She'll watch it later.
No, she's going to be watching that
later.
as it occurs.
Oh, okay.
Frank Janisch. She's going to be watching it as it occurs, and then before her match, she's going to start game planning of who she's going to be up against on a live stage at San Diego Comic-Con. I think she might be thrown a little bit. This is just me. I could be wrong.
You are.
The boat could be wrong. This is what I think. Clark Wolf. She after losing to that singles championship match against Sam Levine, which was a really hard loss for her, and the Wolves of Steel going away, I think that for a second she had to refine her love for the Schmoedown. And she did through the Shire Wolves. And then, boom, they became the first women champions in the history of the league. And they'll always be remembered for that. I think that was her goal. Her goal was to be a champion. I don't know if her goal was to be a multiple-time champion. Once again, I could be wrong. This is just how I'm thinking. So for those reasons, I think the Odd Couple, they want to prove they're not a fluke. They want to prove they're not a one and done. They're going to go out there. They're going to play their game. They're going to match up well against the Shire Wolves like they did the first time. And I think that they successfully retain the championships to close out the collision. That's just what I think. The boat thinks that, and the boat's going to go with it. Whether you float with it, Frank, or not, I don't know. Whether the fans out there agree with me or not, I don't know. And really, quite frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Because the Odd Couple proved something that no other team in this league has done. They proved the Shire Wolves can lose. And when you have one chink in the armor, another one's going to come with it. You ever had a Coke can in your hands, Frank Janisch, and you crush it? Have you ever crushed one?
Sure.
You ever done that?
All the
or
time.
You step on it?
Yeah.
Now, once you've done that, the Coca-Cola can is now severely weakened. And you can try as much as you want to pull it back straight and make it look like it did before, but you never will. It's not, you can't do it. It's almost like if you get into a car accident and there's damage to the frame. That's what everyone wants to know. Did it damage the frame? Is the frame damaged? Because if the frame's damaged, then the integrity of the car goes away. I think that the frame might be damaged with the Shirewolves.
Wow.
I think the frame might be damaged.
Wow.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
I think the frame might be damaged, and that's why the Odd Couple is going to go out there and defend the championship.
Are you kidding me right now with this? This is ridiculous. I can't. Okay, Bradley. All right.
The vote is spoken. Well, what does everyone out there think? What does everyone out there think? Who are your 4 picks to win? So to reiterate, I've got Janine the Machine, I've got Kevin Smets, I've got Paul Oyama, and I've got the Odd Couple. Frank Janisch has Drew McQueenie. He has Kevin Smets, Paul Oyama, and the Shirewolves. So we only defer on 2 different ones. And Chris Clark has William Bibbiani winning the whole thing, which is really odd. I didn't know he was competing. Really weird.
It's crazy.
So anyway, what do y'all think? Any closing thoughts, Frank Janisch, on the Collision?
I'm just really excited for a Collision this year. Going to be there. Actually, going to have to hop on a flight right after we're doing this. And so I'm excited to be there for this one. It's going to be live streamed. So if you have not gotten your live stream tickets, do that. You don't want to wait, a whole week to see, the Shirewolves take on the Odd Couple. And it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So I can't wait to get it going.
I can't wait to get it going either. And Frank Janisch, we're going to talk about this. We're going to have to maybe even do an instant recap of the Collision. We don't know, but it might happen. So by the time you're hearing this, there should be some announcement on the SD Rundown Twitter page or on SD Rundown on Instagram. You can find me on all social media at Brad Gilmore, a.k.a. The Boat. Find him at FrankieJ29. You can find our super producer, Chris Clark, at Chris Clark 8788. Those numbers mean nothing. And we are the Rundown Boys, hashtag with a Z. And we'll be back to talk about Collision. Brother.
Chips. Dip. I want them dip. Oh, boy.